Well, hello everybody. I wish I was there in class with y'all. We've got two chapters left, 39 and 40, uh, vehicle extrication and special rescue. I hope to be back here with you shortly, but I want to make sure you got your chapters in before the end of the school year, because it's all depending on when the doctor's going to release me. So here we go. And again, if you do have any questions, you can email me wpearson or excuse me, WPEARS at neisd.net. So you'll usually not be responsible for the rescue or extrication itself. Few and far between services do specialized rescue. They mainly gear that towards the rescue teams and or the fire departments. But they are going to involve many different processes as environments. It requires training above and beyond your scope of practice. Now, I'm not saying that you'll never get it as an EMT. It just depends on who you work for and where you go to work. Safety extrication requires mental and physical preparedness because you're not only carrying gear and dealing with the patient, but you're also lugging around pretty heavy equipment. Some of the extrication equipment can range anywhere from 20 to 30 pounds, as high as 70 and 80 pounds worth of weight in just the machinery that you got to use to disassemble a car. But the priority is for patient care. Consider the safety of yourself and your team, so always remember me, we, them. Equipment and gear should be appropriate for anticipated hazards. So it doesn't mean I need to go ripping somebody's door off the hinges of their car if the other side is unlocked and undamaged. So try before you go and pry. Vehicle safety systems itself, their airbags, shock absorbing bumpers may still be loaded and can release and injure you because they did not deploy upon impact. So we want to approach a vehicle from the side. This is one that I may or may not agree with, simply because the book says approach from the side. Well, if you don't have anyone in the vehicle with the patient and you approach from the side, as soon as you make contact with them, the first thing they're going to do is turn their head to the side, which is not what you want. I like to approach from the front or from the corner, make eye contact with them, instruct them to keep their head in a neutral inline position looking forward, and then come in from the side and let them know that you're going to have someone else gain access and be in the back with them to hold their head in a neutral position. Manufacturers require to install airbags in newer cars. They're everything from your steering wheel airbags to your side curtain air impact to door frame, door jambs. They've got airbags just about in every location of those vehicles. They do fill with a non-harmful gas on impact and quickly deflate. Airbags themselves are located in the steering wheel and the dash of the front passenger. Side airbags are located in the doors and seats. And they should deploy upon impact, but if they do not, you got to still consider them being live or charged. With that being said, even though you cut the battery cables, they still have an onboard capacitor that will stay charged for anywhere from 10 to 20 more minutes. So ask your fire department to short out the capacitor before you go messing around those airbags. Haze inside the vehicle, which airbags have been deployed, is caused by the cornstarch or the talcum powder. It's just going to be a very loud, bright powder. Keep in mind that it is non-harmful, but it can cause some contact skin irritation. Not necessarily burns, more irritation than anything. Use your protective gear, including eye protection, to reduce the risk of eye and or lung irritation from these substances. Fundamentals of extrication. Your primary concern is your safety, your team safety, patient safety. So your primary role as an EMT is to provide emergency medical care and to prevent further injury. You're in charge if you're in the call. If you're in that car with that patient, you're the one in charge. You're making all the calls. Patients starting to get a little upset about everything that's going on around them because they're undercover. You have the right to stop the extrication until you can get your patient calmed back down. You need to explain everything that's going on around them. Again, they're going to be tarped. They're going to be covered. They don't know what's going on. They're just going to hear a lot of strange noises, a lot of metal tearing, maybe even glass breaking. Extrication by definition is the removal from entrapment or dangerous situation or position. Entrapment is a condition in which a person is caught within a closed area with no way out or has a limb or other body part that is also trapped. As an EMS person, you're responsible for assisting and providing medical care, triaging and packaging of your patients, providing additional assessment and care as needed, and provide transport to the emergency room promptly. I mean, you're not going to go lights and sirens unless absolutely necessary, but you don't want to have any grass grow under your feet, so you don't want to waste any time. As a rescue team member, you're responsible for securing and stabilizing the vehicle. We want to make sure if it's on its side that it's not going to roll over to its roof or back onto its wheels. So it wants to be at least 2 points of securing this, front and back or side to side. Providing a safe entrance and access to the patient. So that may be that your rescue team is going to gain access for you as the rescuer, whether it be through the window, through the door. Your goal is, when you get in the vehicle, is not to have it move around. So they may have to do what they call step chair or step chalk. It's a series of pieces of wood, like 2x4 pieces of wood, that is stacked on top of one another, and they're bolted together or screwed together, so we can actually put it up underneath the frame of the vehicle. Because even though it's on all 4 tires, when you get in it, those shocks and those springs still move and flex. And that's not what we need, because in there that patient's spine is moving back and forth. You don't need that. Law enforcement personnel, they're responsible for controlling traffic, maintaining order at the scene, and establishing and maintaining a perimeter. That's mainly the perimeter. They want to keep anyone that is non-essential rescue personnel or non-essential personnel at all. They don't necessarily be rescue. It could be other police or fire. But we're trying to keep the bystanders out of the area. Bystanders mean well. They do their best given the situation. We just don't want them to get hurt or hinder our rescue efforts. So there's a time and a place to have rescue personnel, and there's a time and a place to have bystanders. So firefighters are responsible for extinguishing any kind of fire. You got any kind of liquids on the ground, prevent any ignition sources, ensuring scene safety, removal of spilled fuel. How they're going to do that is usually use kitty litter or what they call absorball. They're going to put it on there. It looks like very large gravels of sand. It's going to absorb any liquids and oils in the asphalt or the concrete, and they can sweep it up, scoop it up, and put it inside the wrecked vehicle after the extrication is said and done. Typically fire trucks, from what I gather, I know my department, we carry 5 5-gallon bags, five 5-gallon buckets of this absorball. Each one weighs about 40 to 45 pounds. So we're going to carry about 200 to 300 pounds of the absorball. Preparing for incident requiring extrication involves pre-incident training with rescue personnel. So yes, you may be called to assist and train, which means your department, your shift may take a day and go out to the wrecking yard, the auto shop yard, wrecking yard, And they've got a bunch of vehicles that they're fixing to dispose of and crush. And before they do, their bodies are still in good shape. So they may ask the fire department if they want to come up and do any practice. And what they mean by that is they will turn them over for you. They will crush them any way you want them and allow you to put a mannequin in there or even put someone in there and y'all practice cutting somebody out. And we usually spend about a half a day, start about 8, 9 in the morning, go till about noon, 1 o'clock, sometimes longer, just depends on how many personnel are there to practice. And we usually do that probably minimum twice, maybe pushing it 3 times a year, but minimum twice. So rescue personnel should routinely check equipment in their response vehicles, make sure it's all up to date, it's full of fluid, because they run on hydraulic fluid. Some are compressed air. Those are very few and far between anymore. Mainly down along the borders, you may see that. Now the biggest phase is that they're all battery operated. So you got to make sure your batteries are charged and in good working order. You do not want to be in the middle of cutting up a car and the battery die and you don't have a backup. So we're at the scene. Procedures and safety precautions similar to those in the phases of an ambulance call are used when responding on a rescue incident. Now, don't think rescue is just mean just straight extrication from a vehicle. Rescue could mean rescuing from an entrapment, a building collapse, a trench rescue, um, a vehicle in the ditch that did not actually crash. It just got swept away by the water. So rescues can mean a lot of different things. It's not just for car accidents. Arrival at the scene and size up. Position your ambulance to block the scene from oncoming traffic because we would much rather replace an ambulance or a fire truck than try to replace a human life. Those are expendable items, even though your chiefs and your departments don't think so, but they're a lot more expendable than a human life. So use only essential warning lights. Choose a location where it allows for safe access to exit, meaning you got oncoming traffic, don't just open your driver or passenger door and possibly get clipped by an oncoming vehicle. Make sure that you check the mirrors and that it's clear before you exit. Put on the proper PPE, whether that be your full turnout gear, or if you don't have the full turnout gear and not required to wear it, you at least have a safety vest on whether it's day or night. Make sure the scene is properly marked and protected. Request assistance from law enforcement if need be. Make sure that the road, if it needs to, be shut down. If we need to, shut it down because we got to get plenty of rescue personnel in there. And what rescue personnel means more apparatus, which apparatuses are fire trucks, ambulances, police cars, sheriff's departments. It could be the electrical company with their trucks because they're having to kill the power. So your job is patient care, but you may need to direct a little bit of traffic until other units arrive, so be prepared for that. If you are the one that's going to be assisting and directing traffic, make sure you have the warning devices. If it's at dusk and at night, make sure you have a flashlight on you. Every ambulance is required to carry a minimum of 1 flashlight, if not 2. I always carry one on my person. It's a rechargeable flashlight. You can see it for a long way off, half a mile to a mile, but it's my personal one and it's on my belt every shift. Scene size up is an ongoing process of information gathering and scene evaluation. The scene is going to constantly change. It is not going to be the same thing it was when you got there 5 minutes ago or an hour ago. It will revolve and change. Do a 360 walk around. Look for MOI, down electrical lines, leaking fuel or fluids. It's just a real quick walk around the vehicle and see what you see. Is it upright? Is it on the side? Do we see it smoking? Is the power lines down? Have we got fluids on the ground? Is the patient conscious or unconscious? Are they able to make eye contact with us? That is what they consider a 360 walk around. That is different from your windshield view. So if you're driving up, they do the windshield view is what do you see from the cab of your ambulance? That is a windshield view, and then when you get out, you do a 360 walk around while your partner's gathering the equipment y'all are going to need. Look for smoke, fire, broken glass, trapped or ejected patients. The number of patients and the vehicles involved. If it's one person in the vehicle, always ask, is there more than one in the car with you? Especially if you see a diaper bag, but you don't see a car seat. Ask them, is there any children in the vehicle with you? And if they're not in there, start looking around. They may have been ejected out. Their vehicle, their car seat may have not been strapped in properly and may have been ejected out the window. While looking at the vehicle, note the damage. Are there any bent steering wheels? May indicate significant body and/or thoracic trauma. Imprints on the dashboard may indicate lower extremities, so their knees hitting the dash. Lift deployed airbags. There's a deformity of the steering wheel or a dashboard. May indicate that the patient struck the structure after the airbag deflated. So we look for that. We look for the windshield. Look, is there any spidering? Usually if the windshield is pushed outward or buckled outward, look at the patient's forehead. If you got little cuts on the forehead, look at the windshield. Odds are you're going to find hair embedded in the windshield. And when you see the windshield is broken up like that, it's called spidering. Unrestrained patients may have contact injuries as well as secondary injuries. So always look for the windshield, look for spider web patterns, shattered glass, indicate possible face, neck, or head injuries. Include findings in these findings in your documentation. You always put where you found the patient, whether they were out walking or they were in the floorboard, unrestrained rear seat passenger, however you found your patient is in your report. Were they restrained, unrestrained, conscious, unconscious? Evaluate the need for additional resources such as, do I have the proper extrication equipment or do I need to call more of a specialized team? All big cities will have a specialized team. It's called a heavy rescue team. So do I need a heavy rescue? They carry a lot more heavier duty equipment than what we carry on our fire trucks and ambulances. Do I need additional law enforcement or fire department? Do I need a hazmat team? Do we need a utility company? Do we need ALS or paramedics? Do we need a helicopter? So we need to evaluate and be on the lookout. Do we need any of these specialties? Look for spilled fluids or other flammables, electrical shorts, any damaged batteries. Is it raining? Is it sleeting? Is it snowing? Is it flooding? Did the crash occur on a hill? Is there any violent behavior going on scene because of the accident? Coordinate your efforts with the rescue teams and law enforcement. Communicate. Communication is key with everybody, not just in a rescue, but when you're dealing with your patient in general, communication is key. So start talking to the incident commander as soon as you arrive. They may have been there before you. You're second in or third in. You don't just jump in there and start freelancing and doing what you want to do. You've got to make contact with your incident commander because he or she may have other assigned tasks for you that they're just waiting for you to show up before they can give you those orders. Always remember, you're going to become a member of the rescue team. So keep that in mind. Don't just say that's not my job. You are part of the rescue team. Any downed electrical lines are a common hazard in a vehicle crash scene. Never attempt to remove them. Instruct the patient to remain in the vehicle until the power is shut off. If they are freaking out and they do not want to listen to you, you have to do your best to communicate to them that do not walk away from the scene. If they are going to move, they need to shuffle their feet. Because as soon as they go to make a step, they're going to break what they call ground and they're going to become electrocuted. You shuffle your feet, never lift your feet. That goes for you as a rescuer. If you have to go in there, not suggesting you do, but if you do, you have to shuffle your feet. Do not break ground. You want to, as a rescuer, want to remain in the safe zone outside the danger zone, or what's also known as the hot zone. Family members and bystanders can also create hazards. The vehicle is also a hazard. Automobile on its side or roof can be a danger because it can roll to one side or the other. A rescue personnel, and that may be you because the volunteers aren't there yet. We want to secure, stabilize the car. That's why a lot of ambulances carry ropes and or chains. So if we have to, we'll chain it to the front bumper of our ambulance because most of the ambulances will have some kind of replacement bumper or hook on the bumper where we can tie it off because we don't want to be getting in that vehicle and it roll over onto its top. Another one, make sure the car is in park and the brake is set and the ignition is turned off. Both battery cables should be disconnected to minimize possibility of sparks or fire. Not saying you as the EMT is responsible for that, but as a rescue personnel or a firefighter, that is your job, is to make sure that we get those batteries disconnected. Alternative fuel vehicles powered by electricity or electricity and gasoline hybrids, or fuels such as propane, natural gas, and methanol and hydrogen. This day and age, it was much simpler back in the day when everything just ran off of a straight unleaded gasoline or regular gasoline. But now we've got so many different things from electricity to the hybrids to propane. A lot of big trucks run on propane. One, it's cheaper and they can go just a little bit further on that. As far as electricity, some of you already know, some of you may have an electric vehicle. They don't go near as far, so you have to plan your trips, your day trips around where their charging stations are. And it doesn't matter what vehicle it is, we got to make sure we disconnect the battery in all cases. Some of the batteries are underneath the seat or they're in the back in the trunk area. And there may be more than one battery, so keep that in mind. Wherever you go to work, you're going to learn that when you go to the wrecking yard to do some extrication practice, they may have hybrids there or may have vehicles that have multiple batteries. And that's one of the things that we do, is we learn where these different batteries are and what we can and can't do. Hybrid vehicle system have batteries that are higher voltage, may make it up to 10 minutes to de-energize the main battery after it's been turned off, just like I was telling you before. You may have to short out the capacitor. Don't you do it. Leave it up to the fire department to do it. They'll have a tool to shorten out the capacitor. But even though you disconnected battery, when that capacitor is still charged, that means that airbag can still deploy even though we don't have power to it. High voltage cable, typically orange, and its components. It's not going to be a red battery. It's usually going to be orange. That usually lets you know that it's high voltage. If we got damage to these type of batteries, these high voltage batteries, they may give off toxic fumes. So do not approach a vehicle if any unusual odors are detected. Retreat and explain. If you experience any burning in the eyes or throat, don't keep going. Even though you've got your patient right there, remember it's me, we, them. Support operations include lighting on scene at night. Oh, nothing's worse than to try and do work on your patient in the middle of the night with just a flashlight up underneath your chin or in your mouth. I will hopefully be able to teach y'all before class is out how to make light out of very limited amount of light that'll light up like the entire length of your stretcher. Establishing tools and equipment staging area. Don't just throw stuff in the dirt. We carry salvage tarps. We carry not just salvage tarps, but we also carry shower curtains, stuff we can lay on the ground to put our tools and equipment on, so we're not destroying them, getting them ground up in dirt and grass and gravel, gets in the pistons or gets in the hydraulic fluids and the disconnects. So that's why we set out a tarp and we put our equipment and our staging area on that. Mark your helicopter landing zones. Fire and rescue personnel will work together on these functions. Gaining access is a critical phase in extrication, so make sure the vehicle is stable, hazards are eliminated or controlled. Extract a way to extract a way to gain access depends on the situation. Not everyone is going to be the exact same. We want to identify the safest, most efficient way to gain access. We got multiple patients, it may take multiple ways to gain the access. So locate and rapidly triage each and every patient that you come across. So when you're looking at this picture here, this is actually a vehicle that is hanging over a bridge. I know the picture's not going to do it justice because you're going to be seeing it up on the screen, but it's also in your book and it's also on your slides. And they've had to makeshift. That fireman is standing on a forklift that's coming up from the ground up to it, and they've got the fork sort of supporting the vehicle. And I don't know if it's going to show up, but right here is your patient. Right in that area is your patient. You can see he's bolted or he's strapped. So he's probably tethered to the forks on this forklift here. And then this guy has got even though he's got his gear on, he's also got a harness on. So if it does give way and falls, he's not going to fall to the ground with it. But they're trying their best to figure out what's the easiest and safest way to extricate this patient. And they're going to end up cutting the car away from her. It's not going to be a real simple, oh, well, we'll just flip this right here and pull her out the top. Or it's not as simple as bring it up and over the side. We can cause more damage than we are doing good by doing that. So we have to systematically take vehicles apart. So determine the exact location and position of the patient. Consider, is the patient in a vehicle that are in some other structure? Is the vehicle or structure damaged? What hazards exist? And what position is the vehicle? What type of surface? Ground, is it on asphalt, concrete, dirt, mud, grass? Did it roll? Did it tip? We got to know all of the type of materials, because if it's in the mud, it may be sinking in the mud, which is going to make it more difficult for you as a caregiver. As a patient's condition changes, you may have to change your course of action. So rapid vehicle extrication may be needed to quickly remove the patient for a problem such as CPR. A team of experienced EMTs should be able to perform a rapid extrication in 1 minute or less. And I'm hoping to be able to get to show y'all all of that before you graduate, where we're going to get to go and play outside. I just got to get cleared myself from my PT for me to be able to start doing things like that again. We want to keep the patient safe. Heavy, fire-resistant blanket or tarp, shielding the patient of placing flying glass, flying particles, tools, or other hazards, any kind of debris, sharp metals. Use a long backboard as a shield. Talk to the patient and explain each and every step what's going on, because if you've got them tarped, you're under the tarp with them. So yeah, you may be just as scared because you hear all the snapping and the popping and the glass breaking, and you don't know exactly what's going on because you're not seeing it firsthand because you're under the tarp with your patient. Keep heat, noise, and force to a minimum. You're in control of that patient in that situation. So if they're cutting, the patient's starting to freak out, you have the rights to halt that extrication until you can get the patient under regulated and under your control again. Simple access, trying to access the patient as quickly and simply as possible without using tools or breaking glass. Try before you pry. Fire department love to tear stuff up. They get to use their tools. Before you start letting them bring in their tools and cutting stuff up, let's try all the doors and windows first. Try before you pry. Cars are built easily to enter and exit. Okay, not like the old ones where they're made of the heavy duty metal. Now they're plastic, aluminum. They tear and they peel like a tin can very easily. The rescue team should provide you access. If the rescue team has not yet arrived, use tools available. My ambulance, we always carried a minimum of a hacksaw. We carried a chain. We carried a jack, a high lift jack, to where if we needed to, we can wrap the chain around the steering wheel, connect it to the bumper and the jack, and ratchet that up and actually peel the steering wheel back and off of a patient if time allowed and time was at the essence where we needed to get that patient out. Use all door handles or roll downs of the windows before using other methods. So try before you pry. Complex access, which that was simple. This is complex. You're gonna see that on a test. The difference between simple and complex. Requires special tools such as a hand, pneumatic, hydraulic devices. Requires specialized training, includes breaking windows, removing of a roof, which is called flapping of a roof. These advanced skills are typically performed by specialized teams. Again, simple stuff you can do, complex of what fire department and rescue teams are going to do. So as you can see right here, this is that Jaws of Life. That's about 70 pounds. It's an older model. Granted, it's probably a hot summer night, as you can see, but you can tell how sweaty he looks. He's got 35 pounds worth of gear on, plus a 70-pound piece of equipment. And there's the backboard. So that means our patient is going to be somewhere right along in here. And they're trying to roll this off of them. There's the roof. Here's what they call the A-pillar. This is where the windshield was and or engine. And so all of that is packed on top of this patient. Now, emergency care. Perform primary assessment and provide care before further extrication. Always do your best to get a head to toe. It's a minute assessment of your patient, whether they're conscious or unconscious, before you go removing them out of a vehicle. Because you want to know what injuries they had before you started. So control any major gross hemorrhage. Provide manual stabilization of the spine. Open the airway. High flow too. Adequate ventilation if need be. Control any significant external bleeding and treat all critical injuries. Coordinate with the rescue personnel to determine the best way to remove the patient. Multi-step process that is intensive in terms of a number of rescue personnel involved and equipment used and the effort required. I can say the longest extrication out of a car wreck I've ever played part of was about 3.5, 4 hours. Now, granted, they can be longer, they can be shorter. Now, the longest extrication was out of the cave up in the hill country that I told you. It was about a 4 hour to 5 hour one-way trip to the patient, and then a 4 to 5 hour trip back. So you're looking at 10 to 12 hour process of getting them out of the cave. So you should participate in the preparation of patient removal. Determine the urgency. Determine the position to best protect the patient. Determine how you would move the patient to the backboard and then to the stretcher. And then determine the extent of the injuries. Again, you want to make sure they didn't have any fractures or dislocations before you started. Because if they had a pulse in that foot and then you took them out and now they don't, it happened during your extrication. But if you didn't check and you took them out, how do we know they didn't have it before we started? So we always want to do an exam real quick, 90 seconds tops, minutes the average, head to toe, while they're getting ready to cut that patient out. Your input is essential. So the rescue team plans an extrication that protects the patient from further harm. Most of the time, like I've said before in this chapter, you're going to be part of the rescue. So you're going to be in the vehicle alongside the patient. First time you're ever in there by yourself with the patient and you're covered up with them, you're going to be just as scared as them because you're going to hear a lot of snap, crackling, and popping and not knowing what it is because you're under tarp. You're the one that has to keep the patient calm. Perform a complete primary assessment once the patient is free. You want to make sure once you get them out and get them supine, you want to make sure that there wasn't anything that we missed or you missed. Make certain that the spine is manually stabilized. Apply a cervical collar if it's not already done. This is known as SMRD, spinal motion restriction device. Move the patient in a series of smooth, slow, controlled steps. Designated stops if need be. Make sure everybody's on the same page when it comes time to moving these patients. It's not a snatch and grab. Once one person should be in charge. Choose the path that requires the least manipulation. So the path of least resistance. Would it be going out the passenger side even though the accident's on the right? It may be. Ensure that everyone understands the steps and ready to use. Make sure you're always using the patient's left and right, not your left and right. I'd hate for you to be saying go right and you're at their feet and you go to your right and everybody else is going to the patient's right. So always know the proper right and left. Move only when the team leader has command. The person at the head or whoever's in charge of removal of the patient is going to be calling the shots. Move the patient as a unit. Continue to protect the patient from any hazards. Now, I'm going to pause this picture here for just a second, and I want to see if anyone can figure out what is wrong with this picture. All right, so as you see, this lady is pretty well entrapped. This is the dash. This is the A-pillar. This used to be windshield all right here, but they removed it. This is the plastic that's on the inside of your A-post. This is where the seat belt is. And so they're holding C-spine to an extent. They've cut her shirt away so they can see what kind of complaint she has there. Maybe even put a cardiac monitor on her. But the thing I want you to look at is look at the C-collar. The C-collar is not put on correctly. This C-collar, just like ours in the classroom that some of you just learned about, see how far down this part is right here? This is your chin. They've got it unfolded. They didn't fold it out. This part where that little white button is right there should be out and right here at the chin area. This is stored flat. So when you take it out of the package, you take that chin and you flip it over. You flip that chin over so that the chin has a cradle. As you can see, she has no cradle here. Her chin is resting on hard plastic. This is the foam part. They didn't flip it over. So they don't have the C-collar on properly. Now, I've also seen videos and pictures here where they've actually had the C-collars on upside down and it made the textbook. Termination involves returning the equipment, emergency equipment or units to service. All equipment used on the scene must be checked, cleaned, repacked, batteries changed out, check and clean the ambulance, replace any supplies used, and complete all necessary reports. A true extrication of this magnitude probably will take 2 to 3 hours start to finish. Specialized rescue situations, sometimes a patient can be reached only by specialized teams. That can be cave rescuers, confined space, cross field and trail, which is like park rangers, dive rescue teams, high angle, which means maybe you got a skyscraper where the guys go up there and do the window washing and get stuck at about 30 or 40 floors high and they got to go up, come over the top. So they're dangling 110 stories up in the air on a rope, coming down to pick somebody up. So those are all specialized teams. A lot of you are going to go on to become that. It's not a requirement to be an EMT, but a lot of you are the adrenaline junkies, and you're probably going to want to go that route. Other specialized teams include missing person, search and rescue, mine rescue, mountain, rock, and ice climbing rescues, ski slope, cross country, trail, snow rescue, structural collapse rescue, SWAT teams. A lot of you will go on to become SWAT members. You probably won't be carrying a gun, but you'll have the vest, the helmet, the Kevlar, just like a regular police officer, only you'll be carrying medical equipment versus a gun. Technical rope rescue, which is both high angle and low angle. Trench rescue, water and small craft rescue, whitewater rescue, which are the rapids. So there's more and more services out there that offer. So like if you're in Colorado, you're gonna have a lot of wilderness and whitewater rafting incidents. So you're gonna have those specialized teams. If you're also in the mountains of in the snowy peaks, they're gonna have a lot more snow rescue teams and cross country teams on skis. Compared to being down by the coast, they're gonna have a lot more beach rescue teams around large bodies of water, lakes, so water rescue teams, boat rescue teams. So it all depends on where you go to work on what your team's specialties are going to be. Personnel needed, special technical skills and equipment. Not safe to include untrained personnel. This is not a good time to do on-the-job training if you've seen it done on YouTube or you read about it. You need to have been a second or third person on a rescue team for a couple of times before you feel comfortable by doing it yourself or leading the rescue. A group is trained on a call for certain types of technical rescues, made up of individuals from one or more departments. Like the biggest one we have in Texas are Texas Task Force. A lot of you are going to go on to become Texas Task Force members. So like the closest one around here is Texas Task Force 7, I think, and Texas Task Force 1. 7 is out of A&M College Station. It basically handles people from all different departments from East Texas as well as Southeast Texas, College Station and all that. Texas Task Force 1 is mainly the Central Texas, Austin, San Antonio. Then when you look at Texas Task Force 3, I think they're up in the Dallas area. So, and these are put on by the governor. So you apply, get accepted as part of the team, you train just like the military. I think it's once a month, 2 weeks a year type of training, but you're also, the governor can activate you at any time for hurricanes, tornadoes, natural disasters, flooding, or even send you to other parts of the United States, such as we got sent up for 9/11. So you may be sent to Florida to help with hurricane victims. So when you get your task force gets activated, your job has to hold your job. It's like being in the military. They cannot fire you for being part of that task force. When it comes to technical rescue situations, check with the incident commander to see if the technical rescue group has been summoned. If they haven't and you think you need them, call for them. The incident commander has overall command of the scene in the field. So one member must be clearly in charge. Lack of identifiable leadership hinders rescue efforts. So if there's no incident commander present, follow your local guidelines, who's in charge. Typically, if we don't have a chief in charge or commander in charge, it's usually going to fall to the local authorities. If it's on a state highway, it's usually going to be DPS, so such as a plane crash is going to fall under Texas Department of Public Safety, DPS, until the FAA gets there. When you arrive, you'll be directed to lead and led to a staging area. Take long backboards, baskets, scoop stretchers, jump kits, other equipment you think you're going to need. Set up your equipment in the staging area. Perform a primary assessment as soon as the rescue team brings you a patient. Real quick, 30-second eval, checking ABCs, real quick head to toe, and then you're going to tag them. You're going to triage them either black, red, green, or yellow. Package and carry the patient back to the ambulance requires a joint effort. Don't try to do it with just 2 people because we don't know what the train's like. Make sure you get at least 4 people to help you get that patient back to the ambulance. Search and rescue. An ambulance is usually summoned to the command post when they're out looking for somebody in the wilderness. Mainly because of the hypothermia, because at night in these wilderness areas, it may be 80, 90 degrees during the day, but at night it can drop into the 20s and 30s. Think of Big Bend. If anyone's ever been out there, it may be 100 degrees during the day, but at night it's going to drop into the 20s and 30s. So you may have that patient that's hypothermic. So once you're briefed on the situation, isolate and prepare equipment that you think you may need. I'd rather have it, not need it, than need it, not have it. Leave the prepared equipment in the back of the ambulance to protect it from the weather. Don't remove it out of the nice warm unit until you've been summoned. You may be asked to stay with the family of the lost individual. Gather as much medical history about the patient. Do you have a history of dementia or Alzheimer's? Have they ever done anything like this before? What was the last thing they've seen wearing? Asking anything you can possibly think of about the patient. Only then the commander should communicate to any news media. They're going to try to sneak in and they're going to try to talk to you. Your job is, I'll have to refer to you to our PIO officer, which is the public information officer. That person will relay information. I am not permitted to supply any information at this time. Set your radio to discrete volume, especially around the family. Turn it down to where just you can hear. I'm a big advocate to where I wear an earpiece in one ear. That way I can hear, especially if it's a search and rescue or they switch from a rescue operation to a recovery operation. What that means, rescue, there's still a chance of survival. Recovery means they've called off the search and now they're just doing a body recovery. You don't want the family to hear they switched from a rescue to a recovery and now you've got more patients on your hands because the family's going to freak out. So I, firm believer, wearing an earpiece that connects right to my radio or my lapel mic to where only I hear the radio traffic. Once that person is found, you'll be guided by the search personnel to where they're bringing the patient and where they're going to begin treatment. You may need to relocate the ambulance or use an all-terrain vehicle like a side-by-side mule. Ensure the equipment is evenly distributed amongst the providers. Not one person, even though they can lift 400 pounds, isn't carrying 300 pounds worth of weight. Make sure it's evenly distributed amongst everybody. Ensure a pace is maintained such as all can stay together easily. We don't need one person to be 100 yards in front of everybody else. All needs to be at the same speed. Remember, you're a team. Many cave-ins and trench collapses have poor outcomes for victims because one, they're pinned in by their chest, can't expand their lungs, or if they are trapped and they do have a little bit of air, that little bit of air they have is all they have. They have nothing else being piped in. So whatever they are trapped below the ground with is all they have. Collapses usually involve large areas of fallen dirt that weigh approximately 100 pounds per cubic foot. Victims cannot fully expand their lungs and may become very hypoxic. Risk of secondary collapse is a concern, so we want to keep everybody about 500 feet away from the opening. All vehicles should be turned off because just the vibration of the engine can cause a secondary collapse. Road traffic should be diverted 500 feet away at minimum. I would prefer to do 1,000 foot away, but that is the control of the incident commander. Other hazards include down electrical lines, broken glass, or water lines. Construction equipment may be unstable and could fall into the cave or trench. Witnesses to the incident should be identified and taken away from the scene and spoken to the powers that be, whether it be the chief, assistant chief, technical education, the technical advisor, or the captain of that technical rescue team. Whoever is going to be in charge of that rescue needs to talk to the person that witnessed it. Assist non-trapped victims, individuals from the area. Do not enter a trench deeper than 4 feet without properly shoring it. Shoring it just means taking like plywood and putting on either side of the trench down as far as you can and then wedging bracing in between the two pieces. What those plywood does is push against that wall and keep it from caving inward further on you. During extrication, survivors, medical personnel trained in trench and cave-ins provide most of the medical care. Be prepared to receive the patient after the extrication because they've got to get themselves out as well. So be ready to accept the patient and start rendering care. Tactical emergency response. Law enforcement officers usually ensure scene safety. Sometimes SWAT teams is needed to secure the area, especially if it's a hostage situation, barricaded subject, snipers. Many communities have incorporated specially trained EMTs, paramedics, nurses, and physicians into the SWAT units. So when called to the scene, determine the location of the command post. Report to the incident commander. Lights and sirens should be turned off. We don't want to alarm anyone that has not already been alarmed. The command post is usually located in an area that cannot be seen by the suspect and out of range of possible gunfire. They're usually going to do it a block away, maybe 2 blocks away. Remain in this area. You do not go to the hot zone or to the scene unless summoned to that hot zone or to that scene. Planning measures are key. Have the incident commander identify specialized locations. SWAT teams practice on a weekly basis. Like I said, my son is part of the Tactical Marine SWAT team for the DPS, and they are constantly training with the Coast Guard at least once a week, if not twice a week, on the water. Boarding procedures, from everything from cargo ships to tankers to shrimp boats to personal watercraft. They practice boarding this on a weekly basis. They say practice makes perfect. The incident commander should determine the scene, the safe location to meet up with the SWAT team, and if any injuries occur. Designated helicopter landing zones, nowhere near the hot zone. Identify the quickest route to the hospital, burn center, or trauma center. As far as structure fires go, those are your house fires, commercial buildings, any kind of structure that is on fire that is not a car or grass. It can be a shed outside. It's still going to be called a structure fire. Say structure. Most areas, ambulances are dispatched with the fire department, fire apparatus. ask the incident commander where the best place to stage your ambulance. It's going to be far enough back, but close enough that you can still get to, but far enough back that you're not going to be blocking in any fire apparatus or blocking any routes for fire apparatuses to come in. Determine if there's any injuries to patients or have been called to stand by for. Search and rescue in the burning building requires specialized training and equipment. So sometimes the scene may be further complicated by hazardous materials. Make sure you get the proper personnel on scene to handle these situations. Keep in mind, you're not doing all of this alone. It's not just you and your partner. Y'all are not the Lone Rangers. For one accident, one patient, it typically takes from start to finish, including bystanders, 911 dispatchers, fire EMS, hospital, x-ray, and all that. You're looking at a minimum of about 30 people that come in contact with one patient during this ordeal. My incident that I had when I fell the other day and fractured my hip with the ball and socket, I had not only me and my wife, but my neighbors came over to help me stand up, and then I realized I couldn't bear weight. Then I had them two, so now we're up to 3. Then we had the ambulance crew that showed up to take me to the hospital. There was 4 or 5. Then I saw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people, different people in the ER, including the doctor. Then I had the CT scan operator. There were 2 of them. Then I had the x-ray technician. And then we went upstairs. I saw 3 different nurses. And then I had my vital signs nurse. Then we had the lab work nurse. And then we had the hospitalist, which was a doctor. And then we had his PA. So to take care of me, and then we had physical therapy. So in just the 48 hours that I was in the hospital, or less than that, I probably saw about 20 to 25 people to take care of me. And now I didn't even talk about the surgery team and the surgeon and the anesthesiologist and then all the nurses in surgery. So it was probably closer to 30 to 35 people. So just take that in consideration when you take patients to the hospital on how many people actually lay hands and work on patients. And we're done. Now I will upload tomorrow's video, the last one, chapter 40. I will work on it tomorrow when I get back from my doctor's appointment, and that'll probably hopefully be ready for y'all on Tuesday. So again, if you have any questions, do not hesitate. Email them to me. Send me a message on Remind. Say, Mr. Lee, check your email. I sent you some questions, anything of that nature. I'm doing my best to get cleared as quick as I can so I can come back to y'all. My goal is to be back there before we have to do the review for the final exam. If not, we will make preparations one way or another to do a review, whether I do it on a Zoom call or something of that nature, but we will have the review. It all just depends on when my doctor releases me to use this foot to drive with. That's the only thing they're holding back on, is when because they don't want me to have to try to hit the brake really hard with my right leg and can't do it because of the pins in there. So I look forward to seeing y'all. I'm already missing y'all. If this is what retirement's like, I do not want to be part of a retirement classification. So I hope y'all have a good day, and mind the subs and follow your advice of your class leaders. We'll talk to y'all later. Bye.